Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. We're back with another episode. As I told you guys at the end of last episode, because that one ran so long, today we're going to be talking about another question that I get asked a lot, and that is post processing. What do I do once I leave an event, get back, and start working on that? So, I guess first off, I will reiterate what I said last time. When you get home from an event, the first thing that you should be doing is going through your photos, finding 15 or 20 of your favorites, and immediately editing those and getting them put up on social media. That way, it drums up interest for when you actually get all of your work done when it comes to the event. So, but what do I do? Well, I guess we should start off by saying I am a Nikon shooter, so I do shoot photos with D850, and I do have a pair of older D3S camera bodies, so I am dealing with CF Express cards and compact flash cards. If you are watching this on the YouTubes, you'll be able to see some of the stuff that I am holding up. If you're listening, I'll try to describe it the best I can. What I've got here is a multi-card reader that does my compact flash cards, but also does SD cards. The key for this one, though, is that it does compact flash cards, and it has 3 USB 3.0 outlets on it. So that means that I can plug that into the side of my MacBook Pro. I'm using a mid-2015 MacBook Pro still. I'm waiting for the announcement on the new the new M4 chipset or whatever it may be to come out, and then I will make a decision on what I'm going to buy as far as new Mac products for editing, especially something that can handle video, because obviously I'm going to be doing a lot more video. I also need a new webcam, so if anybody's got a suggestion on a new webcam that actually works with Mac OS 12.0 and above, because the Logitech C922 that I have, my MacBook won't even acknowledge the fact that it's plugged in. So I've got a couple other options, but that's neither here nor there. That's for another day. So I get home, and usually, depending on the event, if it's only a 2-day event, I'm not going to fill up a bunch of cards because I don't overshoot. That is the key to not drowning in work when you get back. If you are the only person shooting, is to not drown yourself by taking too many photos. I did that early in my career. I'm like, I gotta photograph everything. And I'd come home with like 4,000 photos. And I'm like, what in the hell am I going to do with all this? I try not to do that anymore, especially because it's just me. If I had a team of people, it would be different. I don't. It's just me. So I'm dealing with it myself. So what I will do, as soon as I decide that I'm going to start, and normally I try to stick to the same routine every time. I don't go out and buy, and again, I'm going to show you guys something else that I use. I don't typically go out and buy external hard drives, but I did lose a hard drive 6 years ago. I think I lost a 4 terabyte Western Digital MyBook. It tipped on its side, broke the arm, and scratched the hell out of the platter. I shoot in RAW, so I spent $750, and all they were able to recover were my edited JPEGs that already had watermarks all over them. That was disappointing to say the least. But you live and you learn. I only use solid state drives now. The life expectancy, these things are going to outlast me for one. The speed, and this is what I need to talk to you guys about too. Read and write speeds are so important when you are doing this full time as a time saver. I don't want to spend 25 minutes transferring images from a card to an external drive that then I have to transfer into Lightroom. It's just a waste of time. I don't want to do that, and if I don't have to do that, I'm not going to. Just adjusting my lighting here because it's entirely too freaking bright. So what I use are probably not the fastest cards, but I use pretty decent cards. Lexar has always been good to me. SanDisk has always been good. And what is the other company? It was started by some of the former Lexar employees. I can't remember the name of it right now. But good cards with good read-write speed. Here's the key. I go on Amazon or Newegg, and I buy NVMe M.2 drives. And then I get a holder for them, which you're seeing on the screen right now. It's just a pretty basic holder. Snaps together, USB-C on one end, USB-A or whatever it is on the other end. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, here's my iPhone, and here is the size of the hard drive. It's a little bit, probably 4 inches tall. I mean, it's not even as tall as my iPhone. It's barely more than half the height of my iPhone, and it's pretty slim. So you can throw it in your bag. And again, it's an SSD, so you don't have to worry about moving parts breaking. I could throw this in my front pocket, my back pocket, whatever. And the drives now are so cheap for, I don't remember what I spent last time, but I know that I can get the case and the drive for usually under $100. And the read-write speeds going this way are a lot better than the read-write speeds that you see with like the SanDisk, the smaller SanDisk SSDs. This is a Western Digital SN770 black drive inside of a holder. And I went to this type of format 2 or 3 seasons ago. I get 1 terabyte drives, and I get a new drive. I usually end up using 2 drives a season. This season, I'll probably end up having to use 3. But at the end of the season, I don't care how much space is left on the drive. That drive gets put to the side, and I get a new drive for the next year. So the process: I plug in my card readers, plug in my hard drive. I create a folder on my hard drive. Let's say Mini Truck Nationals or Lights Out. 2 of the bigger events that I've done this year outside of Sick Week. Then I will go into, and it's pretty much the same whether you're using a Mac or Windows PC. I go in to the photo folder, and I copy. I don't cut. I copy. Well, in Mac, you can't even cut anyways. I copy all of the photo files, all of the raw files, and I paste them into the folder that I've created on the hard drive. Now, I will say, both cameras, no matter what cameras I'm using, 2 card slots. Both are shooting RAW. I don't shoot JPEG on anything. I only shoot RAW. I've been doing that for years and years and years, and I will continue to always do that. So now I have got all of my files transferred from a card onto the hard drive. What do I do next? This is going to seem a tad bit redundant, but it's just the process that I've gone through for years now. After I've transferred all the cards from said event into that folder, I eject. On Macs, you have to eject the drive. So I eject all the cards, put them back into the camera so that they're not connected to my computer at all. And then I pull up the hard drive and I verify that all the files were transferred to the hard drive. Once I verify that everything has been transferred to the external hard drive, nothing gets saved on my actual laptop. My actual MacBook, nothing gets saved on that. Everything gets transferred to an external hard drive. So once I verify that everything has been transferred to the external hard drive, then I open Lightroom Classic. And now when you open Lightroom Classic, and I'm actually going to, I'm not going to do a screen share right now, but I am going to plug my hard drive in to, just so I can open my Lightroom, and I'm going to open my Lightroom Classic, and the funny Tin Man guy will show up. And then what happens from there is that I just want to see something here. Okay. If you go to like your importing photos, so I'm just going to pick a folder and we'll just, you just pick whatever. Now on the right hand side of the screen, it's going to show your file handling. I always have don't import suspected duplicates. I have that checked. Build smart previews I don't have checked. Add to collection I don't have checked. This is all going to depend on how you want to set up your collections and your files. This is just how I've done it for years. And then apply during import, I have develop settings, which is I just have one name, drag racing. And it really, I think it turns down the highlights a little bit, and that's about it, because I am big on turning down the highlights. One of the best things you can do for yourself, though, as a photographer, is the metadata part of it. I have metadata for my non-automotive stuff and my automotive stuff. It's pretty much the same metadata with a different name. And that is where I have my name, my phone number, my address, any copyright, like no usage. It's the metadata that actually goes into the file. Now you're still going to have all of the metadata from when you took the photo, but I also use Lightroom to embed all of my metadata that I want attached to that file as well. I will tell you, once you post these files on social media, a lot of the time it strips the metadata out of there, but at least you've got it on there. So, and like I said before, I'm a pretty minimalist when it comes to actually editing. So okay, let's back up a second. I am a minimalist when it comes to editing drag racing photos. So as a photographer, you need to know your audience. And you'll not only need to know your audience, you need to know how to edit for your audience, but also edit and be true to yourself and your artistic vision. For me, a lot of drag racing is working with composition, shadows, white balance. White balance is always a nightmare at almost every track. And I see so many photographers who apparently have absolutely no idea how to edit white balance. And it's so super annoying to see a great photo and the white balance is just absolute trash on it and makes the photo look like crap. Let's not forget, let's say you're in Lightroom. And I edit everything in Lightroom. I don't use Photoshop to edit because I just don't like it. I need to be able to go through 3, 4, 5, 600 photos and be able to edit those. And I don't like, there are some workarounds as far as batch processing and things like that in Photoshop. I've been using Lightroom for 15 years, so 16 years, whatever it is. I'm going to keep using Lightroom. Here's the deal, though. I don't drag racing stuff. Again, it's adjusting maybe your whites, your shadows, your highlights, contrast, and exposure. That's about it, and I do that very minimally. There's some cool stuff that you can do with some of the filters as far as mask, and I shouldn't even say filters. In Lightroom Classic, it's called masking. It's Shift W, or you just click on the dotted circle up towards the top where your histogram is. And I use that a lot for the sky and backgrounds. It has gotten exponentially better at actually figuring out what the background is. If you want to darken up the entire background a little bit, or if you're taking portrait shots and you want to completely black out the background, you can do that as well. So, tips and tricks there. I use that. And the key when you're editing is you don't want a lot of dead space. I see this a lot with drag racing photos, with dirt track photos, whatever it may be. They have a ton of dead space. The subject is entirely too small for the visual frame that they're giving you. Either they were too far away from the subject and didn't have enough of a lens to really get tight on the subject, or they're worried about cropping it because they're worried about degrading the file, whatever it may be. Again, if you shoot raw, it drastically helps. And so does, one of the things that they have added most recently to Lightroom Classic is denoise. And not the manual noise reduction, but denoise. It will take, depending on how fast your computer processes things, it may take a couple of minutes. If you've got a photo that you really, really love, and there's some noise in it, I tell you, I took a photo of a car recently at a race, and I think I shot the thing at like 10,000 ISO at night, and I needed to be able to use this photo for 24 by 36 poster prints. Use the denoise, had those prints made, had them shipped to me so I could take them to the client at the next race. You would have never been able to tell that that was shot at 10,000. And I did not lose clarity on the photo. Entirely too many people are afraid of any noise in their photos, and that's a new trend. I don't mind noise in my photos. Most of the time when you print photos, a lot of that noise blends anyways. You don't see nearly as much of it, so don't be afraid to turn the ISO up. Now, Obviously, sometimes if you go entirely too far, it'll look like Swiss cheese. But in general, don't be afraid of it. Use it to your advantage. And use that denoise also. If you've got something that you want to print out in a big print and you want to make sure that you don't lose quality, whatever else it may be. So, I guess we could back up because I really kind of skipped over part of my process. Because I went into the editing aspect, and we need to jump back to the importing of photos into this program. So, when I import the photos, they'll all come up in a gallery. And all of my catalogs, because Lightroom uses catalogs, I create a new catalog every time I switch a hard drive. So like 2024 early, which will be the first part of the year, I'll create a catalog at the beginning of the year. That catalog then also stays on that hard drive. It does not stay on my computer. So to access and edit photos, I have to have that hard drive. That's fine with me. It's just the process that I use, and it saves a lot of room on my computer. I see a ton of photographers. They take all of their photos and just put them on their computer. How often do you hear about computers crashing? You should never be storing your images on your computer. You should be storing them on external hard drives. External hard drives are cheap. They will outlast any computer that you are using. Store them on externals. Stop being so cheap. If you want to be a full-time professional, invest money in external hard drives and invest money in solid-state drives. Do not invest money in HDD drives because they'll bound to fail and they're way slower than SSD drives. Again, if every time that you're doing this, you have to spend an extra 5 to 10 minutes waiting on transfers because everything is so slow, it's 5 or 10 minutes, everything could have already been imported into Lightroom. You could have already started your workflow. So buy SSDs and store everything on external hard drives. And you should probably back up your external hard drives. Even though they're going to last, you should probably still back them up anyways. Or keep them off, have a backup offsite. A lot of people talk about cloud storage, backup offsite. I don't do all that. Most of the time my hard drives are with me anyways. And if they're not, most of the time they go in a small safe. So, and when you're doing it the way that I do it with the extremely small footprint size of the drives that I have, I could fit hundreds upon hundreds of those in a small safe. So just think about that as well. You're not going to take up a bunch of space on your desk or anything else. So once I've got everything loaded into Lightroom, you're going to go to your library, right? That's where all your previews are. And then what I do, I have my way of doing things. And again, this is just the way that I do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it this way. I'm just telling you how I do it. And it's works well for me and it's efficient. You can obviously go much more in depth if you want as far as labeling stuff and using keywords, things like that. I do not do that. Normally I don't have to. I can find what I need pretty quickly. So I'm in my library, right? I will go through each single photo very quickly. And if it's a horizontal photo that I want to edit, I click 1. If it's a vertical photo I want to edit, I click 2. And I will go through the entire library. And then when I am done with that, I'll go up to the top of that library screen and I'll just click on the drop-down menu that allows me to go to rated. and it'll pull up my rated photos of, one or better, one or greater than one. So, everything that I did in ones and twos comes up, and those are the photos I'm going to edit. Now, obviously, I may call that down even more while I'm editing if I run across a photo that I'm like, this is boring. I liked it at first, and now I just don't like it. I'll just skip past it. I will literally hit 0, so it takes it out of the rated section. It goes back into the unrated, and that's that. And then what I can do is then you always have the option to look between rated and unrated photos, and you may go back through your unrated at some point and go, oh, I kind of like that image. Maybe I'll use that for a social media drop or something like that. But at least you have it, and it's something somebody hasn't seen before. So then I'll go through my rigmarole of editing, which, again, does not take that long for me. I very rarely spend more than 30 seconds on a photo. I have my process of the first thing that I do is I crop the photo, go through everything, do my edits, go on to the next photo. So what happens when you get to the end? Okay, well, now you've edited 200 or 300 photos, right? Control A, Command A, whatever, if you're working on a Mac or Windows, whatever the select all is. When I'm back in the library and after I've edited everything, I hit Command A on my Mac, and then I go to the export feature. Your export window is going to come up, right? And I'm always going to export to the same folder as the original photo. So if you've got, Dirt Track 500 as the folder that your stuff was in, if you click same as original photo, that's where all of your new edits are going to export to. So under that, I click put in a subfolder, and then I just name the folder like E3 Extreme Edits. So I know that that's been edited with the E3 Extreme logo. And normally, this is not the point where I do a rename. I'll go down to image sizing. I leave rename alone. I'll go down to image sizing, and I resize to fit megapixels. I do this differently than a lot of other people. I resize everything to 2 megapixels, but a 300 pixels per inch resolution. I leave the output sharpening off. I include all the metadata. I do nothing under the post-processing tab, and then I also click on whatever watermark that I need. And once I hit export, I walk away. Honestly, it does not take that long usually to export a few hundred photos. So I may go make myself something to eat, go have a cigarette, whatever it may be, and just let that do its job. Now, you're asking about the ones and twos. The ones for horizontal is because it's a different watermark. So I'll pull up all the horizontals and I'll export those with a horizontal watermark, because obviously I've got multiple logos on my watermark. And then I'll do the same for the verticals in a vertical style watermark. That's one of the times that I do use Photoshop, is I do use Photoshop to design my overlays that are going to go on my images. It's easy. I just create a 24 by 36 with a transparent background, drop the logos where I want, save it as a PNG, and then upload that and mess around with the watermarking, how to anchor the watermark and everything like that in Lightroom Classic. Again, this is a process that I've been doing for 15 years, so I'm not one that's just all of a sudden going to change up the process. So now everything we've gone through the importing. we've gone through the edit phase of your work, which you should try to get done in a reasonable amount of time. If this is your job, you should be cranking these out at a pretty healthy pace. If you've got a regular full-time job outside of this, you should still make an effort to start getting stuff done in a timely manner. It makes you look good. It makes you look professional. And it doesn't make it look like you just used the promoter to get into his race for free and you're never actually going to share any photos that you took at the race. So get it done and move on to the next thing. So now all my photos are edited and they're exported to the hard drive. I can close down Lightroom. I normally don't back up Lightroom because I've never had an issue. So I guess I could, but I normally don't. So I close out Lightroom. I've got all my photos, right? What am I going to do with them? Social media is tricky because we're constantly trying to figure out algorithms to reach more people. What I have found is that I will post the same gallery on our business page as I do my personal page. And the reason for that is because, one, it's easier to tag my personal page than it is from the business page. But two, you may not have the same followers on both of them. There's nothing wrong with posting multiple galleries. I no longer post them as galleries, though. So what I do is I'll open up Facebook and I will go to my regular profile and I'll add photos. This is one of the biggest mistakes that content creators make. They put too much shit in a single post or album, gallery, whatever it is. Put way too much shit in there. You don't do that because people are not going to flip through. I see people creating albums on social media, especially Facebook. They'll have 300 or 400 photos in an album. And I'm like, who in the hell is going to sit there and look through all of that shit at one time? They're just not going to. 50 to 75 at most is what I'll do on a single post. I think it actually limits it to 80, but usually between 55 and 70, 75, and that'll be a single post. Now, I know you're going to say, well, that just goes on wall photos when somebody pulls up photos. I don't care. Trust me, you will get more reach when you do it this way than if you just create albums and try to do it that way. Do it as a post. It's easier to share. It's easier to tag. It's easier to tag your branding partners. All of that good stuff. All the stuff that you should be doing as a working professional. And the reason that I don't just post it on the E3 Extreme Facebook page and share that post to my personal page is because the way notifications work on social media, if somebody follows you, they may or may not get notified that you shared that post. They're more likely to be notified when you make a post. So that's why I do it that way. I do it redundantly, obviously for different audiences, and I just, I have found that that's what works best for me is to do these small, let's say I've got, let's take Lights Out, for example. That was 800 and some photos that I edited. And I had that done by Monday night. I had gotten home Sunday night and I had over 800 photos edited in less than 24 hours. And yes, I did actually sleep Sunday night too of that week. So that shows you I don't spend a lot of time editing. I try to get it right the first time and go from there. That was 800, I want to say like 836 photos. I had enough images to drop a wall album every day for like 2 weeks. Well, guess what? You're constantly putting out content on social media. It's going to help with your algorithms. It's going to help with people noticing your stuff. You're not expecting them to go through hundreds of photos. I was doing, I think, 50 to 75 photos in each album. It lasted me 2 weeks. So, Mini Truck Nats. Mini Truck Nats was, I think, 300 and some. And I think I've been doing 50 at a time. So I've got enough for like an entire week. And that is how you continuously have content to share with people. I may have a week. Let's say there's a weekend that I am not photographing an event, but I photographed something the weekend before. Okay, well, if I've got enough images for that, and I can stretch that into 6 or 7 days, let's say 7 days at 50 photos per album. Well, guess what? It's only 350 photos. If I can stretch that for 7 days starting on Monday, I'm already into the following Monday or Tuesday if I skip like Saturday and Sunday. And now all of a sudden I'm getting ready to go to the next event on Wednesday or Thursday. And then do it all over again. So be smart about the way that you share your content. And you can make that content last a while. And it won't become irrelevant if you are doing it on a daily basis versus if you just do one huge photo dump 3 weeks after an event, nobody cares anymore. We are in a society where we are moving the hell on from that. Nobody cares. It's done. It's over with. We've all moved on, and you're doing yourself a disservice. So, my recommendation, stretch it out, small galleries, do them as regular posts. You'll have a lot less headaches. I want to jump back for a second, though, and I apologize for that. I said that I don't edit that much when it comes to drag racing, because drag racing is what I do every week in and week out for the last 10 years. So it's a very journalistic style, very minimalist editing. This comes back to knowing your audience. When I photograph a car show or when I photograph a car audio event, that is a completely different audience than drag racing is. I take artistic liberty when it comes to editing like Mini Truck Nats. I will crop and change angles, and again, I'm not using a bunch of saturation. I may play with the clarity slider a little bit. I may do a few different things that I normally wouldn't do in drag racing. A lot of the time you don't have to worry nearly as much about the white balance unless you're doing indoor car shows. Indoor car shows are such a headache. But again, get it as close to right out of the camera. But I will take artistic freedom in creating. And if you look, go to e3extreme.com and you go to the event gallery and you go to the Mini Truck Nats. Very cool angles and everything like that. Not your standard snapshot. I don't do snapshots. If it looks like a snapshot to me, I won't even edit it. I'll be mad at myself for even taking it to begin with. But I'll start doing different angles, and I use a lot more lighting when I'm doing stationary like car show type of stuff. I do shoot It's going to sound odd because most of the time you don't see this at a car show. I am one of the only ones that ever does it. I don't even remember who taught me how to do it or who told me that I should do it, but I started doing it. I use an on-camera flash at car shows. Broad daylight, and I'm using an on-camera hot shoe flash because I can shoot at like a 5.6 ISO 64. I get a beautiful blue sky. I don't lose any of my shadows. I bring in a lot more detail in the photo. But that's something that we can go through if you guys want me to in another podcast about how I shoot some of my stuff and what I shoot it with. So this was more about the editing and post-processing and how to post on social media and how to responsibly post on social media and build your audience. Listen, if you're at, this isn't as much for car shows because sometimes that's a lot harder to do because you're talking hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of vehicles. You're not going to know everybody's name. Drag racing, dirt track racing, circle track racing. It's very easy to figure out who these people are. Make sure, don't abuse it because Facebook will put you on timeout. Tag people in these photos. I see a lot of photographers that are like, feel free to share and tag and whatever. Okay, that's cool, but did you make any effort to tag anybody in it? Because, I don't know, I mean, I get it. If this isn't your full-time job and you've got other things to do, then you've got other things to do. Me, as a full-timer, I don't have an excuse. I need to be there tagging photos, tagging crew members, promoters, whatever it may be. If you take crowd shots at an event, tag the promoter in it. They will absolutely love you for it because you can show off, huge crowds and stuff like that. Take photos of that, and it helps document the entire atmosphere. Like if I was ever at a circle track dirt race or a circle track race, I'm going to go to the very last row, the highest point that I can get at that facility if there's a big crowd, and I'm going to try to take a huge wide shot of that entire crowd. And I may take 10 photos of that crowd till I get one that I really like as far as the exposure and everything else goes. And you can bet your ass that I'm going to tag the promoter in it because that's what they love to see. It helps them sell advertising and push their event for the next time. It helps you because you are showing off what this promoter was able to do, and they like that because it puts them in a good light. It helps make them money, and trust me, it will just help you in general. And you're doing your job then because you're telling the story. Again, your objective should be to tell a story. You are a visual storyteller. When you are a photographer, you are a visual storyteller. A to B and everything in between. Or should I say A to Z and everything in between is what you should be trying to do. So that is kind of the post-process after the fact, after I get home type of deal. I'm sure you guys may have some more questions, and if you do, obviously post them in the comment area, and I will try to address them best I can. This coming up weekend, I will be in Steele, Alabama for the Bobby Cole Mike Hill race, which will undoubtedly be amazing. Was there last year, going again this year because my Texas event got rained out because they're supposed to have bad weather this weekend. So I'm off to Alabama, and I can sleep in my own bed, which is always a positive because that's less money that I have to spend, and my bed is usually more comfortable than most hotels or the back seat of my Yukon. But yeah, if you guys have if you guys have more questions about how I edit or any, my editing process is pretty basic. I will say after I export and I go to that folder and I look at everything, and make sure you create that folder that you're putting all of your edited images in. Otherwise, everything is just going to be jumbled together and you're going to have to try to sort it out manually. After I do that, I may go into the folder, select all, and then rename them, like, typically the event name, like Mini Truck Nats, and I will have it auto populate the name and then the number. And it helps me also when I go to social media. Okay, well, I'm posting images 1 through 55 today. And tomorrow I can do 56 through 110 or 111 or whatever it may be. And it really helps you keep track of where you're at instead of just your regular IMG numbers or whatever else that you use in camera. To rename them and have them sequenced like that when you want to post them makes life a lot easier. With that said, this is frustrating, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, but, stop putting watermarks through the center of the damn photos. Oh my God, people. If you are going to be a photographer and you put a hideous ass water, and don't get me wrong, I was guilty of it 10, 11 years ago. No, actually it was longer than that. It was probably 11, 12 years ago, where I'd put a watermark right through the center of everything because I got sick of people just taking my images and cropping watermarks off of them. And then I got over it. I became a grown-up and got over it because people are going to do what they do. Get over it. I will tell you, when I see these people who have a repeating watermark through the entire photo, or they've got a big-ass logo right in the center of the photo, I won't even look at their shit. Move right past it. I don't know what you're attempting to accomplish because half the time I can't see the freaking car or whatever the subject matter is behind it. I can't even see it. If your watermark is so damn distracting and you put it right in the center of a photo and think that most people are going to sit there and try to look at those photos, you are freaking delusional. Stop doing that. People are going to steal your photos. It is a way of life. Get over it. Get over it. Learn how to deal with it. If somebody steals one photo out of 500 photos, are you really that butthurt about it that, you need to make a big deal about it? Because if you are, you're in the wrong business. Get over it. Move on. Don't do this if that's... branding partners is one thing. And again, those should be along the top and or the bottom. Along with if you want to use the event logo and your company logo. But the subject matter is what I should be looking at, not the damn giant watermark right in the center of it or the repeating ass watermark all across the image so you can barely even tell that there's a freaking car in the photo because you're so damn worried about somebody maybe stealing a photo. It happens all the time. I have friends who are videographers. Kyle Christ over at I call him Kyle Christ. Kyle Christ over at Straight Line Media. One of the best videographers, if not the best videographer in drag racing. Man, people steal his shit all the time and repost it on TikTok, Instagram Reels, whatever it may be. It is what it is. It sucks because it's your work that you worked hard for. But putting a dead-ass watermark right in the middle of it and taking away from the subject matter and what you were trying to highlight or accomplish to begin with is absolutely pointless. Don't do it. You're doing yourself a disservice. Nobody's going to look at it. Hate to tell you. You could be the world's greatest photographer, and if you have a big ass ugly watermark right in the center of your photos, you are not that damn important, is what I'm trying to say. So stop trying to think that you are. I really think that's as far as the post processing goes. I'm sure that, like I said, you guys may have some questions. If you do, hit me up. You can always, comment on wherever you're absorbing this podcast from, whether that's on YouTube or if you're listening to the audio version. I'm sure there's a way to message me. If not, it's Damon at E3Extreme. That's E3Xtreme.com. You can always email me there, or there's a contact thing on our website that you can also reach out. I'm always up for answering questions, and if you've got some comments, if you just want to tell me where to go and how far to go there, then see it too. Like I've said before, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. This is just the way that I do things, and I've been doing things full-time enough to pay my mortgage for the last 10 years. So, it is what it is. I just want to be out there trying to do the best that I can and maybe help some of you along the way. Obviously, I want to give a big shout-out to Menzer Motorsports, best shocks and struts in the industry, period. You're not going to find better quality, and you're certainly not going to find better customer support. And Classic Graphics, if you need shirts for your race team, your car, a lot of guys have their own teams as far as car show stuff. If you are part of a car club that needs apparel done, any of your apparel needs, you need to be hitting up Scott over at Classic Graphics. He will get it done. He will get it done in a timely manner, and the quality is A1. I only get all of E3's apparel since day one has come from Scott over at Classic Graphics, and will continue to come from Scott as long as E3 is still around. So that's that. So big shout out to both of them. If you liked the content of previous shows, this show, I would love it if you want to hit the subscribe button and or the like button. That's always cool. I'm not going to be one of these that begs you to do it. If you like the content, great. Go ahead and give it a like, give it a subscribe. If you don't, if you just want to tell me to piss off, that's cool too. Whatever. So until next time, we'll probably take a couple of days off, Saturday and Sunday, Friday and Saturday. This will come out on Friday, but I am headed to the racetrack on Friday, so Saturday will not have any episode. Sunday I'll probably hop on and give you guys a wrap-up of all the stuff that I can gather from around the world of drag racing that happened over the weekend. So I hope that you guys are enjoying your Friday, because, again, this will drop on Friday the 26th. Hope you guys are enjoying it. If you watched the NFL draft on Thursday night, I hope your team got what you wanted. It's always a good thing. I am actually recording this during the first hour of the draft. I don't even think my team has a first-round pick this year, so I'm not overly concerned with it. But hopefully that went well for you. And until next time, I appreciate you guys. Everybody take care.